mobile, this is a version of worldcat.org, which is a publicly available copy of WorldCat, and it represents the next step in our mobile strategy, which is providing a mobile version of the site itself as opposed to just using mobile apps for access. So we believe that as these mobile devices continue to deploy around the globe, we have to provide very, very easy and useful access of OCLC's resources. One other thing that was developed in Mike's lab, in fact, is a recently launched application called Ask for Stuff, and it's a mashup of Twitter and worldcat.org that allows users to perform WorldCat searches from their Twitter account. So I'm sure Mike will talk about that some more. So one thing I think about with cell phones and smart mobile devices, many of you know JSTOR, which is a very rich collection of articles. And we recently added 4.5 million level article records from the JSTOR collection to WorldCat. So if you think about the fact that some of the publishers have agreed that in certain countries, let's take sub-Saharan African countries, some of those countries are allowed to have free access to some of this copyrighted content for some period of time. So now the question doesn't have to be, do I have a national library in my country? I wonder what they have there. I wonder if I would have access if I could get there. Now the question is, where's the nearest cell tower? Because if I have a cell phone, I can get access to this incredibly rich store of information, as well as all the other open access journals that increasingly are available. So very, very exciting possibilities. The OCLC Office of Research is probably not talked about enough. It's a very important group of scientists that do research and often produce papers and research reports on issues that are very important to the preservation and the access to information going forward. Mr. Kilgore, who founded OCLC, founded this organization because he didn't see a place in library land, if you will, anywhere where there was enough research being applied to some of these complex issues. So they've just produced this another view of WorldCat. This is by data mining and looking into the rich MARC records that have been produced by individual librarians and automated processing. So now you can search by genre. So you can look up by titles, by authors, by subjects, by characters, by locations. It's just another way to look at the data, which we think is going to be very, very popular. The Hathi Trust is academic institutions across the U.S. that have worked with Google in these digitization of books projects and have built this huge resource. So one of the things we do is coordinate synchronized records between OCLC, the individual library, OCLC, Google, so that anything in Google databases is perfectly synchronized with WorldCat at all times. So this WorldCat registry is something else that's a free web tool which allows the institution, the library, to talk about itself in web terms. So it presents data, everything from hours that you're open to policy statements to addresses of the individual branch libraries and locations. And it's very important to the infrastructure to resolve a search for a user. We need to have information about the institution and its policies, obviously, beyond just its collections. So we need to know how a user can access it. Dewey Decimal System today is still very, very vibrant. As you see, 200,000 libraries in 138 countries. It's quite interesting. Since it's numerically based, it's really language independent. And it's represented in many, many translations, and these are some of the relatively newer ones. And OCLC and the Deutsche Nationalbibliothek are cooperating on a research project to extend the use of the Melville class software, which is the German version of WebDewey, as a general interface to the databases in any language, and it's going to be bilingual and multilingual as well. So we just recently updated the Dewey browser, so we still spend a good deal of time trying to create value using this tool that's been deployed around the world. So where we stand today is WorldCat is a huge, rich resource of, as you see, 197.6 million records and 1.6 billion holdings. So it took OCLC 34 years from the day they turned on WorldCat and the first catalog record came in. It took 34 years to get to 1 billion holdings. And in less than 5 years, libraries have added 600 million more. So you can see this acceleration trend, which is obviously great to see. Here it is graphically. Last year, OCLC added 56 million records to WorldCat. And it's interesting again to note that to get to the first 50 million records, it took the OCLC cooperative 31 years. To add the next 50 million, it took 6 years. To add the third increment, it was just 2 years. And as you can see, we continue to accelerate. So this is both efficiency of libraries, and if you think about the licensed digital content that are so vital to all libraries, as well as that which now is digitized locally, these very, very special and rich, rare collections that increasingly governments are paying for. Europeana is one example that governments are paying for, that individual institutions and universities are paying for. Google is part of this landscape as well. It's very important to the user to be able to discover all of those resources through a single search mechanism. One of the other things that we've done from a data mining standpoint is to create these identities pages. So it really is. It's machine-driven. The ability to go into the records and derive data from the records to create these pages. 25 million of them have been created. So it's been created for fictitious characters, for composers, for authors. Anybody that's a creator in WorldCat has an identity page. And I won't go through it, but you can see different languages represented on the right. It talks a lot about, it's a very, very rich page. I would encourage you to go look at whatever record you want to look at. So our vision is, remember the first point was, let's create a really compelling user experience. I'm not a librarian. So I think about what would I like to see. So if I were to launch a search on Albert Einstein, here's what I'd like to see.